So in this video, I'm going to take this Brutal Cities Eternity Labs building, and I'm going to show you how to paint it up to this finished standard. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is, if you want any battle damage on this, or any type of environmental effects, any bullet holes or anything, this is the time to do it before we put our primer on. So, just going to quickly do some of that. Now I'm just using this basic grey painter's primer from Rust-Oleum. Any sort of grey primer should do the trick. So let's get a coat on this. Okay, so now that the grey primer's on, it's also slightly easier to see the battle damage that I put in. So yeah, did the inside and did the outside. Especially with these Brutal Cities designs, there's overhangs in here. So it's important that you get up, in and under to make sure you get a nice even coat and you don't miss anything out. It's the same in the ladder. You just got to make sure that you're getting in amongst the grooves. Just make sure you get a nice even coat, and that is that. So what I'm going to do now is mask up the areas that I want to stay grey. Alright, so masking has been done. Now I think whatever time you save by using spray paints, you lose in masking here. So as you can see, I've masked up the windows from the inside because I actually want the inside edges here to be the next colour that I apply. Obviously masked up the door, and I've got this little boundary line here, which I want to stay grey. That's going to sit down as the lower level. The ladder, the entire upper floor, I want that to stay grey. I've also done these little vent boxes here. Probably don't need to, you can probably just wash them. And then because I've made the mistake of gluing on an AC box, I also had to do that. I've then chosen to leave these empty because I think I can achieve with some wash and just some paint. I want this to be the main colour, like the actual main box, and then I think with the grates, I probably could have done the same on the other side, but this is also a bit of an experiment to see how things go. I basically finished doing a white coat. So as you can see there, pretty even coverage going on. Pretty happy with how that's turned out. I don't think I need to do much more. I'm actually quite happy in some areas. It's a little bit stipply, I guess is the best way to kind of describe it. And that's perfect for me because I think an imperfect kind of finish is ideal. Even in the gaps here, like I'm not too worried that it's not perfect in these areas. I think that's going to add a little bit to it, and then, you know, a little bit of shading. So I'm actually okay. In here is actually quite a bit patchy. I don't know if you can see that. You can when I shine the light on it there. But again, I think that's fine. I don't want it to be pristine white. I want it to look a little bit out there. And then especially around this AC unit and in here, the fact that it's not perfect is ideal. And then in the windows, there's, you know, it's mostly got good coverage. It's definitely acceptable. Like, it's not perfect, but this is definitely good enough. So the next step that I've got to do, oh yeah, I haven't had much overrun onto the inside, which is still grey, which is perfect. So the next thing I've got to do with this is now mask up everything I want to stay white. So let that dry for a couple of hours, and we've got a pretty good coat on that. So I think it's time to peel it off and see what we've ended up with. Now that I've got the tape off, there's some good points and some bad points. And in terms of simple colour schemes, I quite like this. You know, it's nothing too fancy. I think unfortunately I'm being distracted by the glaringly obvious issue, which is the orange has not come out very well at all. It's just bled everywhere. I don't know if I applied it too thick. I don't know if it's just because it's been sandwiched between so much tape, it just hasn't responded as well as like the white and the grey does. I don't know if it's just because it's a different paint. Whole bunch of questions, not a lot of answers at this stage. What I'm going to do to tidy it up is, I might also touch it up by hand. I've got some greys and some whites, so it's never nice filming something that doesn't go wrong. It doesn't go right. Yeah, I mean the damage is looking good. Subtle bullet holes, they look quite good. I think everything looks good. I think if I hadn't been so ambitious maybe with the orange, it would actually be pretty decent. But I think from now on it's going to be by hand. I maybe made a mistake trying to do something so complicated with the spray cans. Maybe my recommendation with this is to just go with the grey and the white, and then freehand anything else that you fancy kind of doing. Yeah, so I'm going to tidy this up, and the next shot you'll see is of it tidied and better, and I'll explain what I did to tidy it up. So it's been about 24 hours or so. I have manually gone in and touched up a lot of the excess that came with the orange. It's not perfect. You know, if I bring that really close, you can definitely see where the touch-ups have happened versus what is actually spray paint. But it does look a lot cleaner as a result. So I've also, while I was touching up the grey, and again, you can kind of see the grey bits that I've touched up. I also went in and did the vents, tidied those up a bit. But I don't mind the fact that it's a little bit uneven. I think it adds a bit of character to it. I'm also going to be doing a big wash. This is definitely good enough. I do want to push myself to add a little bit more. Then what I'm actually going to do is apply a wash of Agrax Earthshade just to try and dull it down a bit, just so it doesn't look so brand new. Okay, so at this stage I have achieved a bit of like a dirty look, especially focused around the bottom of the building, just to kind of replicate some form of splash up, really. Since applying the wash, things like the bullet holes and the damage that I applied earlier have become a lot more visible, which is obviously good. Touched up there, but again kept that dirty kind of look going around all the way around the building, so you can kind of see that. So what I've done for this step is just using like a bit of tear off like foam, and in this case just Agrax gloss, because it doesn't matter hugely. If you've got the normal Agrax, then use that if you want to. I do have the other one, but I just chose to use up the gloss because I've got more of it and I rarely use it on models. So basically just dip this in a little amount and then did wide brush strokes across there, and then would stipple to finish, and that's given a really nice effect that you can kind of see there. So the brown wash up there on the white building I think looks mint. And then I did the same sort of effect but with non-oil, but on the grey, because the brown wasn't quite picking up as well as I'd like. So yeah, that's, and then so areas I highlighted was like the stairs. I did slightly more null on the stairs just to bring up a bit of contrast, so you can see that it's slightly darker on this side than it is that side. So I've done that there. I also did some null in these vents just to kind of give the grey a little bit of a change. Did the same on the vent up there, and then likewise in this vent I've kind of done, there's some null oil in there and there. Then in the roof I've kind of carried on that effect. So as you can see, I've again just getting, this is Agrax again, so I basically just stippled in there just to kind of make it look as though, I don't know, like rain was hitting the roof and splashing up a little bit. And then it's null all in here, which I think is a bit more subtle, like you can't really tell, but I think it still looks good. So again, dirtying that inside section of the roof I think adds quite a lot. Okay, so at this stage of the process, all I've done is added some Leadbelcher to it. So let's see if I can show you this. So on things like the vent, I just dry brush some Leadbelcher on the vents and stuff that's going to be well hidden. Then on the front, I've just given the stairs like a little dry brushing of the Leadbelcher, and same with the vents up there. And then with this design, there's also like a roof hatch, which again, I've given like a little quick squiz over with some Leadbelcher, nothing too heavy. I just want it to give the sense that it's metal, but not actually just be brand new metal and all that sort of jazz. So you can see from that angle, it basically blends, and it's not until it catches the light that you get a sense of it. So that's where things are at right now. I've done basically a little bit of highlighting with good old-fashioned Leadbelcher, just to again kind of accentuate a few things. Could easily have done more on the stairs, but I kind of wanted to give a sense of metal and maybe of high wear areas where paint may have been scraped off to reveal the metal below. That's mostly what I was going for there, rather than go too hardcore with anything. So again, happy with where this is at right now. Call that done, because it's definitely to my standard and is good enough. And obviously now I've got to replicate it across an entire table. Yeah, so that's where we're at. Okay, so that's the end of the tutorial on how to get this finish on some MDF terrain, if that's what you're looking to do. Pretty straightforward, basically 3 spray paint colors, a little bit of wash, and yeah, that's all it is. So it's definitely on the basic side of things, but if all you want is a quick execution that kind of looks semi-decent on the table, then this is definitely it. Let me know in the comments how you found it, whether you've got any tips for improving any of this process at all, and keep us posted on how your own terrain painting goes. As always, you can follow me on Instagram if you want to see painting progress on models and also more MDF terrain, and feel free to subscribe if you want to see more videos from me. Thank you very much. Chat to you soon.